Good afternoon. Today is our Beauty Insider segment again. So it's all, every time we come to this segment, it's always talking about the people behind the industry, right? So, of course, a lot of people would think that this is a very glamorous industry, which is true. I think we are quite glamorous. But a lot of times, there are also many challenges behind the scene. Okay, so today, if you are a person who are thinking to wanting to go into this industry, like working as a beautician or aesthetic doctors or consultant, or you wanted to invest in this industry, I think you can like or share or tag friends who actually wanted to join into this industry. So I think today's topic will be very beneficial to them, especially people who are wanting to go into this industry. So today we are very honored. We have a very Lang Zai doctor on board. So he is actually Dr. Teo. Today we are going to talk about entrepreneur journey as a modern doctor, right? A lot of times when we talk about doctor and entrepreneurship, not sure whether it's correct or not, right? Because businessman versus professionalism. Let's later discuss about it. And of course, Dr. Teo also just joined our platform as a freelance doctor. And he is a former emergency doctor within the government hospital. And he is one of the doctors that I see very passionate, very hardworking. And he is also very I would think he is super excited to be on board with us lah. Okay, so Dr. Teo, do you want to say hi to our audience?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear
loud
me?
and
All
clear.
right.
So
Okay, good.
introduce yourself, okay?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm actually very honored to be given the chance to share about myself today and to be here also. Let me take an opportunity to introduce myself. First of all, thank you, Michelle, for the brief, short intro about myself. And then let me introduce myself. My name actually is Dr. Teo. You can call me Dr. Teo. I'm from Malacca. Actually, my hometown is from Malacca. And actually, since young, I always wanted to be a doctor. Actually, pursuing doctor is always my dream since young. So I went to Russia, Moscow, and I studied there for 6 years. And after graduation, I come back to Malaysia and I went to Sarawak to become a houseman, which actually commonly known as a training doctor over there for almost 2.5 years over there. And after I completed my training, I flew back to Malacca, my hometown, and actually I become an emergency doctor over there, official medical officer lah. And then after that, I having on top of that, actually I have working experience in a private hospital for almost 2 years. And also I sometimes I touch on the management department as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dr. Teo, can you tell me who inspired you to be a doctor? From young you say you already want to be a doctor. Who
Yeah.
inspired you?
Actually, since young, my dad is the one who actually inspired me because my dad actually is a Chinese medicine doctor.
Oh, okay, like
So
teaching kind
since
of.
young,
Yeah.
since young actually I have been involved in the treatment and I enjoy seeing the patient that actually how satisfied and then they become healthy. Yeah, after
Mm.
being
So
treatment and all that, receive the
so you're
treatment.
very into wellness
Yep.
kind of beauty lah, right? So you
Yeah.
say you was in Russia for 6 years. So studying as a doctor, is it very tough?
I would say studying with a doctor is actually a very tough. It's very, very tough. It's a very stressful, I would say, because imagine you need to memorize a lot of new medical terms, and you will be having a lot of exam every week and exam and things like that, and assignment. But it's interesting because every time after your exam, you will feel a very, very relief and the achievement is there. But studying medical itself is already tough, but if you talking about studying in Russia is more tougher because we will actually need to require to study the Russian language. So
Wow.
it will be, yeah, you need to answer in a Russian
Oh my
to the
God.
teacher.
So
And
you must
because
be very good in Russian language.
I used to be because it's already
Oh,
very long. It's already because we need to examine the patient, the Russian people, because we need to go to their hospital. Yeah, we need to
mm.
talk to them, so we need to speak to them.
So,
Yeah, in
so
Russian.
what are the characteristic or personality a person should have in order to pursue a doctor's career?
You must be
Yeah, I'm
you must be
saying
very
what
very
type of
yeah.
character or personality a person should have in order to pursue a doctor's career.
Okay, first of all, if you want to study for doctors, you must be very, very sure that you are
You must
willing
be,
to sacrifice. Can you hear? Sorry?
sorry, I didn't
Can you hear now?
what? Yeah, like what sacrifice? Sacrifice what? Oh, okay. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Seems like Dr. Teo has offline. So again, I think a lot of times when people think about doctor, like it's super glamorous, especially aesthetic doctor. But to go through this education, houseman in the government sector, in the IT, is really, really tough. Not everybody can do it. So later we will ask Dr. Teo to share more about that, and also what actually inspired him from a doctor to actually go into this aesthetic field as well. So again, I think nowadays, if you look 10 years ago, maybe there is 10 or maybe 20 years ago, there is not many aesthetic doctors. There might be dermatologists, not really aesthetic doctors. I think aesthetic doctors are very popular in the past 5 to 10 years. Okay, so and why does all these doctors, instead of going into other field or other specialists, wanted to come into aesthetic? And I get to know that every year we actually find 100 more aesthetic doctors. So we can see that there are more and more aesthetic doctors in the market already. And later Dr. Chu will actually share how the journey is, because like I say, he was studying in Russia for 6 years, and then also houseman, I think, for at least four years. Okay, now I become Dr.
Hello.
Teo.
Sorry for the just now some technical error.
His line seems to be bad.
Yeah. So back to the
Okay,
question
since I
just
cannot see
now
him,
is actually, is it okay now? Is the line okay? Hello? Okay, never mind. I think there's some technical issue going on. So let's talk about just now. If you want to study for the doctors, of course, it's a very, very big decision, I would say, because study a doctor itself is actually very tough, the pathway itself. And because you need to be you need to sacrifice a lot of time because you cannot sleep well and you cannot even eat well preparing for the exam. So if you really want to persuade a doctor, some more is actually our government now we are having a contract-based system. So I'm not sure about future, but yeah, just have a very determined mindset if you want to go into the medicine in the future. So talking about just now, if you want to
And can you all hear
come
me
into,
now,
yeah,
Dr.
welcome.
Teo?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Much better, Miss
Okay,
Yap.
line is bad, I think.
Yeah. Mine was actually just now. So I just told them about just now if you want to become a
Ellie, can
if
you
you
hear
want to
me
study
now?
doctors. Yeah, I can hear you, Miss Yap, loud and clear.
Hmm.
Okay. Ellie can hear, Miss Yap. Oh, went off again. The just now yeah, after you graduated, then you need to think about the housemanship because nowadays we still are in a contract basis, which actually the government will give you a 2 years of time period that actually to be the houseman and serve as a medical officer later on after 2 years. And yeah, within the contract basis, that means you would actually having a less benefit, or I should say that actually you can't proceed to a master or in a specialist kind of a course during if you are as long as you are in a contract basis. So this issue has been going on for the past few years, but our government is still working out on it. Yeah, welcome back,
Sorry,
Miss Yap.
I missed what you say. You are saying?
Oh, just now I was telling them about I was sharing just now if you want to become a pursue in the doctors and also after the doctors, the contract basis that actually the government is offering now. Yeah, and you're back.
Usually,
Mm.
usually after this, I'm sure most of you all after complete your houseman, you will prefer to go to private, right?
Actually, not really, not much. Actually, wanted to go private because in fact, a government actually what we are aiming there is a lot of people they give a mindset of a iron bowl. They kind of we call it iron bowl. It's like 铁饭碗.
Mm,
So
okay,
so that kind of like we actually need after the housemanship and after we complete our medical officer, we actually want to go to specialize. There are a lot of
okay,
yeah, we need to specialize because they are also we are encouraged to give further and specialize in the subject that we want, the department that we wish. For example, some people they might choose surgery, some people they must choose orthopedic, some people are like medical. Yeah. So actually we study the doctors we wish to specialize
so
because
did
we
you
we
actually
our study won't
specialize
stop.
so did you actually
I-
specialize in
Initially, I actually already on the halfway in gynecologist in
okay,
O&G. I already
okay,
taken the paper.
okay,
I already passed the paper one exam, but I
okay?
decided to quit the government.
Why? What's the main reason?
The main reason is actually I found out that my interest in aesthetic
Okay,
after because during the period of a houseman and also medical officer, we wasn't know about aesthetic much.
okay.
So yeah, so after that, when I touch on the aesthetic, I feel that actually aesthetic is the part that where my patient
The
and
passion is.
my yes, my patient, and that
So
is the thing that actually I'm
how do you come across with this aesthetic? Did somebody inspired you, or you have a mentor, or how?
okay. Actually, it's like this. It's the kind of the reply and the happiness. It's
Okay,
actually one of my friend has done aesthetic treatment because back then, actually, when we talk about aesthetic, some people might think like, oh, you do aesthetic, oh, you not fear about pain, oh, you this and this like that. But when the people that they don't understand is actually their problem is solved, and the confidence level is much increased, and you can see how well the people actually can, present themselves confidently, stand in front and talk about that. And
Mm.
the happiness actually satisfied. I feel very satisfied of the for the outcome. So I feel
So
that actually this one, hmm,
So
yeah,
I think people who actually wanted to go into this beauty and wellness industry are people who actually life purpose is like they wanted to improve someone's life. Like improve whether it's their look, their self confidence, or even like right now we are not only into beauty, we are also into wellness, like improve their quality of life. So I think the passion to be a doctor is really important. I think why a person wants to be a doctor is really also very important. So sometimes you will see parents who tell the kids, hey, be a doctor, you become very rich. Actually, if you're money motivated to be a doctor, you are so wrong. Because I think the first
yeah,
5 years or even 10 years, doctors' earning are not good. And you will think that it's too suffering. If your why is just to earn money, you will think that I become a salesman, I can earn way more
yes,
money than a doctor. Okay,
yes,
so I think
exactly,
uh, the reason if you want to be a doctor is definitely to save life and to improve people's life lah. Because if you don't have this purpose, I think it's really almost impossible for you to survive in that 6 years in education and that 4 years in houseman, right?
yeah,
So,
true.
Dr. Teo, can tell me what is the biggest struggle when you was in houseman?
The biggest struggle is actually houseman is actually a period of learning. It's a learning process. So when we talk about learning process, we need to sacrifice a lot of things. For example, your time. That is the main thing of your time, because um, even though we are given a time that actually, oh, you come to work at 7 o'clock and then you may be going back at 5 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, but there is no any certainty, because we need to always get ourselves get ready. We need to go there earlier, prepare, we need to do round, we need to see on the patient, we need to check on the patient, and then sometimes we will actually come back home, very late, like about 10 o'clock. Okay, and sometimes we are very busy and we can't even eat a meal, and we are starving, so you are very tired, but you still need to prepare your mind very strong. You need to save people life, because your job is saving life saving, so you need to put always patient first. So sometimes even you want to go to toilet, you need to think, oh wait, I need to go and settle my patient first, and things like that. So yeah, this is actually the attitude and also the behavior of a doctors. So we always
So,
put the patient first.
if we look, a lot of times, doctors are here to actually save people's life, to educate people to healthy living. But you can see that doctors are always on standby, means they almost don't have a work-life balance. Like Dr. Teo said, don't even have time to eat. And sometimes because you're so tired, I don't know how many coffee have been drinking. So it seems like doctor's lifestyle is not as glamorous as most of the people think, right? Especially
Yeah,
during house. And how
yes.
do you actually think there is a work-life balance? No, right?
No, I don't think there is actually a very good work-life balance if we are actually in that kind of situation. Especially if you can see during the COVID time, pandemic time, it's even worse. Imagine a lot of people that have been going back home because of they are worried about the virus that will spread to their family, you know,
Mm.
and then they need to come back to hospital, and you need to save their life first, and things like that. So I think our job is actually we putting the patient first. So work-life balance is actually not much of people can
Applicable.
actually achieve. Yes, exactly,
Not
exactly.
applicable if you're a doctor,
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah, yeah.
I think I always think as a parents, if you have a very kind-hearted, big heart kind of kids, you can always encourage them to become a doctor, because it's really not easy. You really need to have like big heart to become a doctor. And if you think that doctor is a like high paying job, and you want to encourage your kids because oh, be a doctor and you can be rich, please don't be a doctor. You can be a lawyer, you can be a businessman, you can become an accountant or anything, but don't encourage your kids to become a doctor because of money. I
Yes.
think it's ethics. A doctor
Yes.
who wants to be a person who wants to be a doctor and say I want to be rich because I want I be doctor because I want to be rich is a totally wrong purpose. Okay, so I will always say that if your kids are really kind-hearted, willing to help people, are very empathetic, be a doctor, and if they are also beautiful, then go into a aesthetic line as well. I think we need more and more uh, good doctors in this industry as well. So okay, then again, when you say you switch from government ONG then to aesthetic, what is the changes that you see, the biggest changes?
Actually, the biggest changes, I personally feel is actually time.
Okay.
Because actually, I feel that during my time in back in government, I have less time for myself. I have less time for my family members, and I need to always go to work, and then our work is a shift basis. Sometimes we need to go in the night, on call basis and things like that. So it's actually the quality of the time there. Actually, when I switch to aesthetic, my patient is still there because I'm still curing, I'm still treating patient, I'm still seeing a patient, follow up patient, doing whatever the same. But the main thing that actually improve is my time. I actually have more time for myself. I actually can accompany my family members, and actually I can can not to say relax, but yeah, but I have more time for myself. So it's actually a work-life balance. Yeah,
Okay.
so I,
So
I feel that this is the
the
biggest
lifestyle changes, right?
yeah.
I think it's true. Actually, the how I met Dr. Teo is actually we was in a non-profit platform. He is actually one of our COVID doctors who goes to a house to visit and treat the COVID patient. And being me in the beauty and wellness industry for over 20 years, our job is very fulfilling in helping people, but it's never urgent, right? It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
today gao lang, it's okay lah. Wait another month also still can wait, right? But
Yes.
when it comes to emergency, it comes to COVID. Oh my God, I think that kind of anxiety, anxiousness that happen, and even we have a another doctor who is in um, emergency ICU. He will say that before you go home and sleep, you will go and see the patient first. If the patient condition is good, then you can sleep well. If the patient
Yeah.
condition is not good, you need to stand by, so that is that kind of life as a doctor in a hospital, especially in emergency or ICU. So we are now into more preventative care. I think if we are able to educate people better in terms of taking care of their health, then hopefully they don't need to go into this ICU and emergency and
Yeah.
lighten the burden of these doctors. Okay.
Prevention is always
So,
better than cure. Mm.
so Dr. Teo, how do you handle this type of anxiety and tiredness? Because, right, you are handling day to day life and death, especially when it comes to emergency. How do you manage this anxiety in you? Or you become numb already, you don't have anxiety anymore.
No, actually, this is not a numb, but it's actually the experience. When
Okay.
actually we face a lot, because we are actually during my time in a government emergency. department. So we used to face a lot of cases. The cases is like you haven't finished one case, there is another two case behind already. And when you haven't finished the other two case, there is another one more cases. So you need to be you are forced to be work very fast,
Efficient.
very efficient. Yes, we need to work very efficient because we are all life saving. If you delay a minute, things might change. So it's actually very, very challenging. So about the anxiety is actually uh we need to get ourselves very, very ready. We need to have a very, very good attitude, and we need to have a very strong, determined, and a passion in what we are actually doing. If we are like, I just come here to work, that's it. This kind of
So,
thinking
so,
mindset, you will suffer. Trust me, you
so
will suffer a
all,
lot.
all this will it affect your emotion, and will you bring this emotion back to home to your family?
No, I try not to, because
But
I try to settle. I used to drive home, and then I sit inside the car and I settle down, I cool down, and I tell myself, okay, everything is over already, you are home. So I need to change because I cannot bring the negative to go home. I
mm,
have to always be positive because I'm one of the pillar of my family, so I need to be strong.
okay.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes you also need to be vulnerable to someone, right? So who is your support system? Your dad, your wife, or who is your support system that you can?
All of them, I would say, but
All of
of
them.
course, yeah, all of them. But my wife, who actually
Okay,
being there, always support me because
okay,
mentally I have to be very, very strong. So I
okay,
used to discuss with her all the things, after I calm down. Yeah, after
okay,
everything is already like settled, and then I just tell her, and she is a very, very good listener. Indeed, she actually, after she listened already, she give me a lot of support and positive. That's how it's actually I get the motivation, I get motivated. Yeah, that is what actually she is
So,
my
so I
motivation.
think, I think as a successful person, it's really important to build our support system, whether it's our family, our partners, or even our circle of friends that actually
Yes.
recharge us. Because there are also a lot of times we will have our downtime, and how can we go to a place to recharge ourselves? So it's really lucky Dr. Teo has a very good wife and supporting wife. So thanks to her that Dr. Teo able to be his best. So uh okay, so what I think after the government servant, you came out and you joined some aesthetic company as well. And why do you want to join us in this Beauty and Co? What attracts you to join us in this B and Co clinic?
Okay, actually, as you mentioned earlier, right? Because actually we actually how I know Miss Yap is actually we are actually from a non-profitable service, actually the house call. So
Yeah.
during that time, actually can imagine a aesthetic firm, people who actually have limited resource and also knowledge on how to handle people of a COVID patient. And they are very fast. They come up with a team, and they actually show to me that how well their team is, like, by for example, they can actually settle the planning with their strategy in within 1 week. And actually they show me how well the what is a team call, and how well is actually a family call, because they are actually working out no matter what time. So they will just set the time, like for example 8 o'clock. So everybody will actually being behind me, and I will be going to the patient family house, and I will actually have to assess the patient. So they will provide me all the things. So we plan everything. So the spirit of a teamwork here is enlightened me a lot, because it showed me that actually, this is the place where actually it's a very, very good place for me to grow. So I like the environment of teamwork, and you know being a call so called a family. So I found that actually a harmonious workplace and also a place where it can give you a positive charge is actually very, very, very important because it will actually determine how far can you go in the future.
It's
So from
true. It's
there, yeah, from there I see how is I go and study about B and Co. So I also noted that actually B and Co got a lot of high tech FDA approved machine, which actually is very very good, you know. So I can see the treatment is everything is very very good. So that's why I feel that is it's a very very good place for me. So that's why I choose B and Co.
so
And
I
thank
think
you,
again.
Miss Yao, for giving a chance.
So again, I think opportunities are given to people who are ready lah.
Yeah.
And because of this coincidence that we met at this non-profit organization, and what Dr. Teo said is true, because due to MCO, most of our girls are not able to work. And when somebody asks me, "Hey, can you help?" Because this we have overwhelming response on the COVID test, and people get COVID positive and things like that. So I was asking, my girls, and I always believe in autonomy. I always believe I don't want to force people to do anything. I just want them to be willing to do it. So when some of the girls who volunteered and say, okay, we want to take this challenge, and again, like Dr. Teo said, hey, we are aesthetic people. We don't even know what these COVID emergency things are. And we took up this challenge, and the first week was like super anxiety. We really don't know what we are doing. We also don't know if we can really contribute. And I think for the first 1 2 days, so much of challenge. My manager told me, Miss Yap, you think we want to do this? I said, wow, I think it's too much of challenge, and it's non-profit. I think so much of challenge, then don't do lah. Then to my surprise is the girls who volunteer to do, they say, let's give it a try again, because they are the one who are facing the COVID patient, not me, right? I am just helping to do the platform only. They are facing the patient, and they say that, let's give it a try. Then of course I am behind supporting them to give it a try. Then we contact pharmacies who actually buy oximeter, whatever, Panadol, whatever things that the COVID patient need. Then after 3 days we realize these patients all got one problem. They are just based on home remedies, like eating Panadol, and not effective anymore, especially at that stage. Majority of the people are still not vaccinated. So a lot of them are like getting stage 2, stage 3 kind of COVID problem. Then we start to source for doctors, and so lucky that we met Dr. Teo as well. That is how that in that process, that is how we actually built this platform. And also due to this learning, this Medic and Co platform, where we match the doctor to help the COVID patient, we realized one big gap. What is the big gap is doctors are not able to do day-to-day advice and guidance to the patient, right? Doctors are not able to do that. But the consultant, the volunteers are able to do that. So it's actually, I feel it's really a huge gap. And a lot of times, even doctors, they want to go to the patient house to treat the patient. But who is going to send all the PPE, send all these, get the garbage people to come and collect all these disposal, because you cannot simply dispose the COVID patients things like needles, etc. So there is a lot of operational issue that luckily me and my team are good at this lah, because we are doing retail, we are doing operation, we are good in this. We are not good in treating patients, but we are good in supporting doctors. So doctor is basically go there, okay, all the things are ready, he go and treat the patient. Okay, after that, all the things got somebody go come and count him. So I think then we ease the doctor's job way better, and the doctors become more focused and more efficient as well. I think this is also what happening even in our B and Co clinic. A lot of times, a lot of patients might not understand the doctor's language, right? Because maybe they are first timer, they don't understand the product well, they don't understand the disease well. That's where the consultant actually do all the pre-consultation, educate the customer first before they meet the doctors. And after meeting the doctors, the consultant is the one who do all the follow up to understand, what the problem. So the customer engagement also become better. Because I think what happens in hospital, right, Dr. Teo, I don't think there is any deep relationship you build with client,
No,
right? I mean with
no,
patient, right? There's no way
not
because
really.
every minute's count.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so I also feel that sometimes there is a very good doctors, but lack of this relationship with patient as well. Um, and the
Communication.
education to the the communication, the education to the patient is very lacking, and this is where we come in. So that is why I think B and Co is definitely a very very good platform, not only for beautician but also for doctors. And
Yes.
we are going to have more and more plans for this, and more exciting things coming up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I that day I was talking to Dr. Teo, and he said one of his passion is actually hair grow. Okay, and I see that he has a lot of hair, so a very good spokesperson to do hair grow also. So why do you think hair grow is important for? I think especially men, right? I see a lot of my my schoolmates who are like in their 40s now. A lot of them are losing their hair.
Yeah, yeah. Because actually, to most of the people, because they are very stressed, I think, and some secondly is the lifestyle, because we are getting more is when our job is actually not like last time. Last time when you 8 to 5 without internet, we actually go home. That means we are actually rest. But nowadays, after you go home, it's not that kind of rest. You go home and then you still need to work. And actually, a lot of people, workaholic, they actually can work until 1 or 2 in the midnight. So actually, indirectly, it's actually stress. The stress is there, and it will actually cause the hair fall to be much more earlier and increase the risk of hair fall. So this
Mm,
is the time where actually maybe they themselves didn't realize it a lot, but when they realize, it might be a bit too late. So the earlier they realize, the better. Okay, for the hair treatment. And why I feel is very important is because hair to a guy is just like how the face to a girl. I feel like girls, if they can see a pimples, one pimple on their face, they will actually magnify until like 1,000. That kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
I cannot, I have to do a treatment. I need to go this, I need to
me
eat this, I
too.
need to go there.
Even flat
Yeah.
lips also I can take it maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, exactly.
I
So
think again,
actually, but to men, the
yeah.
hair is very, very important because it's just like how they actually appear, especially those business involving. So it's actually will help them in the confidence. Yeah.
So I can see a lot of women actually spend time makeup. Actually, men only spend time doing their hair, and I think hair is definitely one of the most important thing. And
Yes.
why is it until 40 something they start to lose hair? I mean, you say stress lifestyle. I think even at your 20s, you already have very stressful lifestyle.
Yeah, actually, it's because sometimes we are talking about the hormonal changes. When we are
Mm,
talking about the testosterone hormone, you see, because
okay.
sometimes if you are actually hormonal some imbalance, it actually cause you to tendency to have a earlier kind of a hair fall, and this actually can be worsening by if you have a family history, you know,
Okay.
and
Genetic.
how you take care of your hair also another. What kind
Okay.
of shampoo you are using is all related, and it will actually become a risk factor, all of them.
Okay.
So we need to know what is the cause, and from there only we can treat it very, very
Okay. So if
precisely.
you're
Yeah.
if you're experiencing hair loss already, please come and look for Dr. Teo. And I think, again, just now Dr. Teo is saying because the dad is actually a TCM doctor's kind of thing. That's why he is also very inspired to anti-aging and wellness. So how do you look into this anti-aging wellness industry? What is
To
your
me,
yeah thoughts?
very easy. Actually, anti-aging what I used to tell my client is like this. In fact, if what we actually want is we are actually freezing your look at 30 years old. We try to freeze as long as you can because aging is a process. We can't reverse. That is what actually is impossible. So if you are talking about if you start only anti-aging at a year 40 years old, let's say, but if you want to go back to your 30, it will be impossible. But if you want to maintain 30 years old until you're 40 years old, 45 years old, that could be possible. That is what actually we are wanted to do always. Yeah, that is actually
Mm.
possible.
So I read a studies before saying that if we are able to survive another 20 years, most probably we will live up to 120 years old. So, and I truly believe that because 100 years ago, human lifespan was only 40 to 50 years old. And nowadays, if you're at 40, 50, you're so young. I mean, I am so young, I'm 40 plus, right? So
Yeah,
like if we stay, if we live another 20 years, means I'm 60 plus, I might live up to 120 years old. Means when I'm at 60, I'm actually only midlife, still very, very young. So I also believe that,
yeah,
if you want to live up to 100 years old, maybe you think it's too long. You might think it's too long because 100 years ago, people live up to 40, 50 years old only. And I remember when my grandpa passed away, he is like 60, is considered okay. If you pass away at 60, is considered uh, okay, not too young. But now 60 years old is too young. You will consider too young to go. So if you live up to 100 years old, are you able to still function that well? Are you still able to be as sharp as our, Dr. Mahathir? Or can you still see, your eyes are still clear? Are you able to walk? A lot of people might be on their wheelchair already. So it's really, really important to look into how can you be still having a very good quality of life when you are old, right? So Dr.
yes.
Teo, if we were to live up to 120 years old, you think what are the secret? What are the few secret so that when you reach
Um,
120?
of course, it's actually to me, 120 years old is not to say impossible. It's um actually quite possible for people nowadays with our technology and things like that, and our knowledge in our medical science. And okay, so I think if you want to, first of all, if you want to live until like aim high, or I mean years to live, so your lifestyle. First of all, you have to look back at your lifestyle, because a lot of people they're thinking that, yeah, never mind, I'm still young, I can sleep late, I can, work,
Yeah.
yeah, and then, drink a bit, no problem, things like that. So actually, starting from young, you need to start to have a knowledge of how to maintain, it won't be too late because, as you say, if we are aiming about 120 years old, 60 is still just a mid of it. So you still actually can start from now. You can see, you can look back, But mainly, why people nowadays they are thinking they are still young. I got nothing, I don't need to go and see a doctor. People, the mindset, especially Chinese people, they pretty pantang to go and look for doctors. So actually, very, very important is at least once a year, you have to do a checkup, a wellness checkup, to know or how actually what your body want to tell you, if you have anything or not. Okay. Secondly, is actually how you maintain with a supplement, your
Mm,
wellness supplement. So
mm,
you have to know from the blood result, we were actually able to know that what is your body trying to tell us, and
mm,
how we actually can help your body to stay maintain a stronger. Yeah. So actually, what you're telling actually just now is a very, very good point, is about the quality of life. Because some people, even if they very long live long, but if they cannot walk, if they're just lying down with a machine dependence, that would give enjoyment of life. They were actually don't want to live, you know. So
True.
the most important thing is actually we want to maintain a healthy body, a
Mm.
healthy a lifestyle will actually lead you there. But most of the time, because of work, we actually can't have a very, very good, healthy lifestyle. You know, like every time you go jogging, you know, you go gym, spend time in your fruits and things like that, that would actually happen in the movie. Or people who actually have certain, you know, they already reach a certain kind of level, so that would be actually okay for them. But nowadays people all is rushing, you know, trying to earn, you know, later have to go out and we have to talk about
So,
business, you know, things like that. Yeah, so it's very, very challenging now.
but I think what Dr. Teo did really right is he go into this beauty and wellness. I think it's really beneficial because the side effect of being in this industry is looking good and a wellness lah. It comes to wellness because every day we are talking about how can we live a healthier lifestyle and be at our optimal health, right? And you see, even we ourselves, we talk a lot about supplements, we talk about regenerative medicine, we talk about the future of tissue engineering, and we talk about, all these biocompatible supplements or whatever.
Regenerative medicine.
They are regenerative. We look into hormone, is your hormone at your optimal? So I think being in this industry, if you are interested in this industry, I think there are few things. Number one, you need to be passionate. You need to be passionate about wellness. If you are a person who don't care, you drink all the time, you don't sleep well, you don't practice healthy lifestyle, I don't think this is an industry you want to be into, because you will be surrounded with people who say, okay, this person sleep at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Or if you tell people you sleep at 2 or 3 a.m., people will start saying, hey, this is bad for your liver, bad for your what. So I think the environment actually really influence you. And even a person
Yes.
who don't really care too much about beauty will also be more cautious, because the people who are around us, they look younger, way younger than their age. Look way younger than their age. So I think Dr. Teo definitely made a good choice. And again, I think if there's a lot of doctors in the market who actually wants to follow Dr. Teo's footstep, you can also follow him at his Instagram, and also start stalking him and see how his lifestyle is. And I think Dr. Teo is also a person who is always hustle. Even no matter how much he hustle in the beauty industry, by 8:30 when our shop is closed, he needs to go home. Right? So no matter
Yes.
how much he wants to work, by 7:30 or 8:30 he needs to go home. Unlike hospital, is 24 hours running, you need to be on
Yeah.
standby all the time. And it's not that I said being a doctor in emergency is not good. It's still a very noble thing, but I still think going to hospital is like, sometimes it might be too late also. In a preventative care, I think is really important, because we actually reduce people going to hospital because of all these uh, I don't know, heart disease, or sometimes these are how to say, degenerative disease. It's not like an accident. Of course, accident you
Chronic.
definitely,
It's a
yeah,
chronic
chronic,
disease.
chronic
Yeah.
disease. So these are all preventative, right? So, Dr. Teo, how long have you been in beauty industry right now? 2 years?
It's about that, about 2 years. Yeah, about two
So,
years.
what is your greatest joy in this industry right now?
My greatest joy is actually I feel very, very satisfied with uh the patient feeling actually, because what I feel is actually sometimes people will actually not to say purposely, but people will actually take as an advantage, like hey, you have something on your face, you know, you actually make some, you know, people will actually make fun, but deep down in the patient, the people heart will actually feel a bit hurtful, and then you just say like, how nice if I don't have this, and how nice if I actually can change this, so it actually will boost up their confidence levels, and the way they present. So actually what I did is actually the cure, the treatment that actually helped them. I can put a smile to them, that is actually
Mm,
how I feel very, very happy, because back in the hospital time is actually what I do is because I'm in the emergency department. So I'm actually in the first stage. I couldn't enjoy until the last stage, So because when they
mm,
come into a hospital, usually
it's always
people will be
pain.
like, yeah, fainted already. So they don't even know who is the one that actually see them. So sometimes they will actually, yeah, they will actually just, okay, I treat them, but actually will
Mm,
pass over to another department. So this one
okay.
is actually, I feel very touched, because when my patients say thank you, because of helping them on this, and
Mm.
this is actually very, very, to me, is a very, very good achievement. I feel it's very, very good.
What what
Yeah.
what is the greatest challenge or the things that you don't like about this industry?
The greatest challenge about this for this
As-
industry is actually, you mean in the aesthetic, right?
Yeah, aesthetic beauty, wellness lah. Yeah. What is the greatest challenge or something that you don't like?
In
I'm sure
fact,
there are some.
it's actually not to say don't like, but it's a little bit of challenging. I feel is when you try to convince, or you try to tell them. It's like, if you are telling them, you introduce to them, actually this treatment is good for you, and deep down because you have experience on it, but it's a very, very big challenge for them to accept, especially for those who are first timer of aesthetic. They will feel like, seriously, really, things like that. They will feel very, very like uncertain and anxiety, and I feel this is a
So,
very, very big challenge. So
so
I need
I
to.
think what is the challenges in our industry is about reputation, because a lot of times when you go to a doctor, usually you will take their advice, but in an aesthetic industry, sometimes because of unethical selling, or sometimes because of
Yes.
gimmicky and things like that, it makes a lot of doctors or people who are really professional become less credible. So I think it's really important. That's why I emphasize again and again, we need to really level up this industry's standard in terms of integrity, in terms of ethics, in terms of
Yes.
education, in terms of
Yes.
technology, so that when when consumer comes into this industry, they feel peace of mind. They feel that this is an industry with integrity. That is why we want to inspire more and more people to always do the right thing, and to always educate, to always sell from love, from a place of love. Like Dr. Teo, he said that, that person was like unhappy or get very sad, or sometimes self-esteem. I even hear very extreme case like, if I lose my hair again, I want to go commit suicide. And
Yes.
when you are selling from a place of love, you actually wants to help the person to solve whatever the problem is. Sometimes it might not be a physical problem, it can be also emotional or even a mental
Yes. Emotional.
issue that, that triggers them. Maybe it's not that pimples, but don't know what triggers them
Yeah.
so emotionally. And and helping them, that is really important. So I think the same thing about me. I think the challenge in this industry is always about, I love it when the doctors are very professional. I love it. I even sometimes client tell me, oh, this who doctor. I say, yes, this doctor is very good. If you want to go there, it's okay. But when we hear people who are talking about unethical doctors, unethical beautician, or even beautician who act like a doctor, or a doctor who act like a beautician, I feel everybody should have their role, right?
Yeah.
Salesperson should not be doctor. Doctor should never
Yes.
be a salesperson, right? Because
Yes.
doctor, they need They should not have that kind of conflicts of interest. They prescribe something to you, it's because they think you need it. Like from their heart, they know you need it, and not because of the money. Let the other people do the sales. And I always emphasize, any doctor who come to our platform, I will not allow them to do sales. They are allowed to do education, they are allowed to treat the client, but not doing sales. Yeah. So I'm sure, Dr. Teo, you would not want to do sales as well, right? As a doctor. You
Yeah,
studied so
because
hard not to be a salesman, right?
yeah, because that is not my professional. You know, that is not and doing sales is actually will make a person, I mean, will make a doctor to feel, I mean, looks a bit unprofessional because people might think, hey,
Definitely.
you know, are you telling me because you want to earn money or things like that? So I don't
Yeah.
think that is actually a very good,
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah.
way.
So
Yeah,
again, about professional ethics, doctors are not supposed to be selling. They should be educating, they should be prescribing, they should be treating, definitely not selling. So again, we want to inspire more doctors. If today you think, hey, as a modern doctor, I need to learn to sell, I can tell you, no, you don't need.
yeah, true.
Because sometimes I would think certain doctors will also get very confused. Should I sell? Should I not sell? If I don't sell, can I survive in this market? Can I survive in this industry? I would say, no, you don't need to sell. If you are a good doctor, you can treat many people, you can solve many clients' problem. Your skill is so good. You don't need to sell. The people will come to
Yeah,
you. Okay,
true.
let the selling done by all these salespeople. And I think doctors who have studied so hard, go through all this so much of struggle, I also don't think you want to end up become a salesperson.
True.
It's not that
Yeah.
salesperson is not good. I'm just saying maybe you want to be slightly, more professional in your profession. And I also hope that Dr. Teo, when come to our platform, he can focus on his education, because, like Dr. Teo said, learning is ever going thingy. They cannot stop
Yeah.
learning one. Every year, I think you need to still fulfill certain CBD point to call
Yes. Yes.
to qualify, right?
Definitely.
So like always learning. Even Dr. Leong in our platform, I can see her sometimes weekends still on Zoom, sometimes at night still on Zoom because of the learning. So it's like ever learning. And I also want them to focus on their skill, like how can they really perform very, very good skill. And definitely I would not want them to become a salesperson, because again, for a doctor to sell is not as ethical. A doctor should always treat and prescribe according to what the patient needs. Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Teo. I hope that
Thank
today you
you.
inspire many, many more doctors to be
Yeah, I
uh,
hope so.
more ethical, to also have passion in their work, and also don't know, will you actually attract more GP doctors to come into the uh, I think if there is more GP doctors to come into aesthetic, I think the uh,
Measurement.
preventive, yes, is treatment is really, really a big field, and it will also do a very great advantage to the treating portion. We can prevent more people from become high blood, heart disease, diabetic, all these type of things that can actually be prevented if you have a good lifestyle and good understanding on how to take care of your of your well-being, right? So again, today is Beauty Insider. Every 3 weeks, we'll talk about, we'll invite somebody who are behind the scene, behind this beauty and wellness industry, that people who think is super uh, glamorous, which is true. I agree, glamorous, but we also have a lot of struggles that maybe a lot of people doesn't know. And I think we also want to inspire people who are passionate, who are very giving, who are very service oriented into our industry, so that we will be able to level up this industry. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Teo.
Thank
So
you. All
next week,
right.
okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.